Hey guys, let me walk you through the most hyped and probably the most controversial chess match of the year. The former world chess champion Vladimir Kramnik has accused, or as he says, not accused, but has implied that it is very statistically improbable that a certain player is playing fairly online, in particular in Title Tuesdays online tournaments. That player, under suspicion of Mr. Kramnik, is or was Martinez Alcantara, also known as Jospem, one of the strongest online blitz players. The problem that Kramnik had with Jospem is that he said that his online results are too statistically improbable, that he gets wins over top players, very strong players online quite often. In particular against Kramnik, he demolishes Kramnik online. Their online score is 8.5, 1.5 in favor of Jospem. So Kramnik lost like 85% of points to Jospem. And in response to Kramnik's suspicions, allegations, whatever you may call them, Jospem agreed to settle the score by playing a match offline, both over the board and on a computer, to prove that he is legit, a top player. So this match was crazy. Let me give you a brief overview of it and then talk about my impressions and what this means for this dispute, for the chess world in general, for Kramnik and for Jospem. So first of all, this match was full of scandals, as if it was not enough that it started off because of a scandal. During the match, several scandalous events occurred. So Kramnik insisted that the parties play with the 3+2 time control, all their games. And this caused the first controversy, because online, Jospem demolished Kramnik in the 3+1 time control. And I've looked through most of those games, and very often Jospem won because of poor mouse skills of Mr. Kramnik. Kramnik is 48 years old. He is not a prolific online player. He's a legend, obviously, offline, but over the board. But online, he doesn't even use a good mouse. He doesn't move the pieces as most online players do in a drag and drop way, but rather he just clicks on the first square where the piece is located, and then he clicks on the square where he wants to go. So these 2 clicks instead of drag and dropping, which is a slower approach. Also, he doesn't use pre-moves. So this is why Kramnik, I've seen many of his Title Tuesday games, he often loses because of his poor mouse skills. Because in Title Tuesdays, you get just 1 second added to your clock after one move. And 1 second is not enough for Kramnik to make a move, basically. And he refuses to pre-move for some reason, because he thinks it's unethical, it's not true chess. I don't really understand this logic, but okay, he has the right to avoid pre-moving, but this costs him some points. But in the match, Kramnik insisted that they play 3+2, so 2 seconds are added after each move, which is many grandmasters I've talked to about this say it's just 2 different games, especially if we speak about Kramnik, because for him this extra second really counts for something. And I should also add that the match was quite peculiar in that it was split in 2 parts. One part was Kramnik playing Jospem on an offline, over-the-board basis. Over the board, literally with pieces, wooden pieces, like in the good old times in Blitz. And the second part of the match was supposed to be held on chess.com, but the players were supposed to be sitting opposite each other, playing on newly bought computers, where there could be no spyware, malware, and no cheating apps or plugins installed, to ensure fairness and lack of any suspicions, so that everybody would be 100% sure that the game is fair and square and the result is adequate. So in both of those formats, Kramnik insisted on 3+2, whereas it would be probably better for the experiment if he wants to compare how Jospem performed online in Title Tuesdays and offline, but on the computer. for the experiment, it would be more adequate, I think, to use 3+1 and then compare, is Jospem capable of beating Kramnik 8.5 to 1.5 under such circumstances. But this experiment was not, unfortunately, conducted. That was the first controversy, but not the major one. The most unexpected scandal occurred when the match was cut short and the players rearranged the playing conditions because of the claim by Mr. Kramnik. It's funny that the match itself was called Clash of Claims, and Vladimir Kramnik made quite a lot of claims during this match, so the name was adequately chosen, I would say. So at some point during the offline but computerized chess played over the computers, not over the board, sitting in the same room, at some point Vladimir Kramnik noticed that there are some glitches in his game, that he doesn't see the time adequately ticking down for him and for his opponent. And he made some rash decisions, and because of that, because of those decisions, he did not convert his winning advantage in an endgame in the second game on the computer, and he drew a winning endgame. And that led Kramnik to protest. And many people didn't believe him. They called him a crybaby and were very skeptical about the claims. But the arbiter told everyone that yes, Kramnik is right. Indeed, there was some glitch on the platform. And later on, I think the chess.com team confirmed this, if I'm not mistaken. So there was indeed a glitch. So it cost Kramnik probably half a point. I should add that initially the match was scheduled to be held over 3 days, with 6 games played every day over the board and 6 days played every day on the computer. So 6 plus 6 is 12, 12 times 3 is 36 games. Half on the computer, half over the board. This also could be an experiment to compare the strength of both players over the board and on the computer, because definitely everybody agreed that Kramnik is a more dangerous player when he's playing with the wooden pieces that he's more accustomed to, and there are no pre-moves to give Jospem an advantage. There are no mouse skills at play here. But after the first 2 games on the computer during the first day, Kramnik protested and the match was stopped and it was in danger. At that point, many people thought that maybe the match will be stopped because Kramnik protested. He said, I won't play. I don't trust chess.com. Maybe they do it even on purpose. I think he implied in some of his comments when he was at the board. I saw his frustration. Well, you can understand his frustration. Of course, anybody could be frustrated. But still, this felt like the match is in danger. This reminded me of Kramnik's match against Topalov, Vasilin Topalov, the World Chess Championship they played in 2006, I think. There was this Toiletgate scandal. Topalov accused Kramnik of cheating. Finally, Kramnik protested. He didn't arrive to play one of the games. He forfeited that game. But then they agreed. Also, this reminded me of the scandal in the match Fischer-Spassky. You might see this behind me, this poster. So Fischer forfeited one of the games because he didn't like the fact that I think cameraman was standing too close to him. This was also interesting. So many chess players, top chess players, world champions, are adamant about protecting their rights to play in the environment that they want to play in. And I think we should respect that. This doesn't mean that you should respect all Kramnik's claims, but this, I think, is an adequate claim. So Kramnik insisted that either they move to a different platform, Lichess, for example, or the games are played over the board. And Jospem, Jose Martinez Alcantara, to his credit, said, okay, I'm fine. I can play you wherever, whenever. This reminds me of the speech that Winston Churchill gave when he said, I think, that we will fight them on the ground, we will fight them in the air, we will fight them in the sea, something like that. So Jospem said, okay, I'm fine. Even though he relinquished his advantage by doing this, because over the board, he had worse chances. And spoiler alert, over the board, Kramnik won the match by 1 game. So in the end, they agreed to play 28 games overall, and 14 of them were over the board. And Kramnik won that over the board part by 1 point, 7.5 to 6.5. And he dominated in some of those games. He even could have won more. He didn't convert some good positions in time trouble, time scramble. So Jose Martinez Alcantara was willing to play all the games over the board, but there were long negotiations, and finally they agreed that they will continue playing on chess.com, but because of the long negotiations, they cut the match short, and also they started recording the screen of the players to make sure that everything is fine. And actually those glitches, turns out, were caused by the fact that Kramnik insisted initially that the games should be played on a newly bought computer, and some Windows updates messed with the chess.com's servers. I don't know. I'm not a technician. I'm not an IT guy, but something like that happened. It happens. Sometimes I play on chess.com myself and I encounter such bugs. So yeah, it's a big website, but sometimes they have problems, technical issues, because they have millions of users. This is obvious. Happens on all platforms. It was unfortunate that it happened to Kramnik. Maybe he, in his mind, started already feeling doubts that chess.com is doing this to tamper with the match because they don't like him. I don't know. Kramnik is an interesting guy, and sometimes he, with all due respect, I think sometimes he reaches conclusions that are not adequate in terms of reality. In terms of chess, of course, he's a genius. But let's move on to discussing the match. So he won the offline part, but the offline OTB part. But the offline part on the computer, which finally was held, was shortened, but still was held, he didn't win. He lost in quite convincing fashion. So Jospem won this part 8-4. 9-4 even. But the last game was not played. You know why? Because there was another scandal. Because at some point during the second to last game on the computer, when it was already clear that Jospem is the winner of the match, he won it in advance with 2 rounds to spare, and Kramnik got an opportunity to score at least a point. Against Jospem, he was completely winning, absolutely winning. Like, you could resign in that position for Jospem, but Jospem kept on playing, and Kramnik, for some reason, encountered another bug. It was showing, his screen was showing, and this has been proven by recordings of his screen, so he's not hallucinating things. This is a funny coincidence, not so funny for Kramnik, but his screen was showing that it's Jospem's move and Jospem's clock is running out, whereas in reality Kramnik's clock was running out and Kramnik lost on time. So another glitch by chess.com, strange coincidence, glitch in the matrix. I don't know. What do you think about this, by the way? Write it in the comments. I don't think it was intentional. I think it just happens, but still interesting. After losing that game, which he shouldn't have lost, Kramnik said, okay, to hell with it. He just stood up and left the room and refused to play the last game. But even if he won that game that he should have won, and even if he continued the match, and even if he won the last game, still the match would end in Jospem's favor, because he had this massive lead online. He won 8 games and lost 4. So he demonstrated his dominance online, like online but sitting opposite each other. I hope you get the terminology. And for many people, let's discuss the complications or the aftermath of all this. For many people, this means that yes, Jospem has proved that he is a top blitz player. Over the board, they are approximately equal in strength with Kramnik. By the way, their OTB blitz FIDE ratings are around the same, around 2700 for both of them. So both strong players, but here Kramnik can compete and can win. But online, Jospem destroyed him. So many people say, okay, he has proven that he is innocent. But for Kramnik, I think his logic is different. And for some of his supporters, they say that Jospem should have obliterated Kramnik, like 8-1, 8.5, 1.5, like in their previous online encounters. But this doesn't, in my opinion, take into account the fact that those games where Jospem was dominating were played with the 3+1 time control, which is very important, a different game again. And if we analyze those games, I think it was 7-0, 7-0 in 3+1, something like that, in Jospem's favor. And they played 2 games in 3+2 online as well. And those games gave Kramnik his points. So he scored 1.5 to 0.5 in 3+2 online when they played. I think it was previously, before Title Tuesdays were held with the 3+1 time control, or maybe it was a random blitz match, I don't remember. But in that time control online, Kramnik won, actually. So this shows the difference between the time controls, I think. And this shows that the experiment was actually not conducted in the correct way. It was a fun match. It was fascinating. I watched all the games. I watched all this drama. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. Kramnik has these glitches. What's happening? So it was very spectacular. I'm glad that this happened. Fascinating stuff. I hope there will be more of this, but I'm disappointed. And I have cringed a lot during this match. I've seen those scandals. I understand Kramnik's frustration, but sometimes I think he went too far in accusing everyone that everyone is acting against him. I don't think that anyone wanted to tamper with anything, and that anything bad was done intentionally against Vladimir. He is very well respected and admired in the chess community, even though nowadays his fight against cheating is considered controversial by many. I've recorded a podcast episode with him, by the way, more than 2 hours. We've played a fascinating blitz game at the end, so check it out. The link will be in the description. So if you want to learn more about this efforts of his, and I don't agree with him in many points, but still it was a great discussion, so I recommend it. So the aftermath of the match is that everybody still believes what they used to believe before. I think many people now believe, who were skeptical about Jospem, for example, now believe he is indeed a truly remarkable blitz player, especially with a mouse. But Kramnik still, I think, has his suspicions. And I think that many of his supporters still have their suspicions. I've read many comments on social media in both English and Russian, because I speak Russian as well, and many of Kramnik's fans also come from Russian-speaking countries. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about this, but I'm fascinated, and I'm glad that this match occurred. Even the cringy parts were funny, and I liked it. What do you think? Write your opinion in the comments, and I'm looking forward to further matches like this, because Kramnik challenged Hikaru to a similar match. I think Hikaru will definitely win if they play, but that would be a great show. Will he agree? I don't know. Let's see. And see you in the next one. Bye-bye.